Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation No Time to Die, turn 8.4, the Commonwealth. It is January 1940. I thought I would start off with a little discussion about the differences in annexations. It's kind of confusing and inconsistent. To annex Austria, Bohemia, or Slovakia, it requires that a unit move in the combat movement phase, and you can only do one per turn. However, if you're Germany after the fall of France and you're annexing Hungary, Romania, or Bulgaria, it doesn't involve a unit moving in during the combat movement phase, which would kind of make sense, but that's because if someone hasn't taken Yugoslavia or Eastern Poland, you wouldn't be able to move in the unit. You'd have to go Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria in that order. So they allow you to annex just by naming the country, and that happens in the place units phase. So you just say, boom, I am naming Romania. That's what Panzer J did right after the fall of France. And then when you look at the Baltic states, which can only be annexed if USSR and Germany signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, but if they did, and in this game they did, that does require a unit moving in the combat movement phase. But it's a little bit different because when Germany annexed these territories, all of them, they converted over. The units here used to be gray. Just to talk about, the way I do it is the units, the countries that could become Axis are gray. So Bulgaria here is gray, and if Panzer J names Bulgaria next turn, as I'm sure he will, then those gray guys come off and the black guys go on. But when Russia combat moves a unit into the Baltic states, the units do not become Russian, they're just removed from the game. Another difference with the annexation of the Baltic states is that you don't have to do it one per turn like you do with Austria, Slovakia, and Bohemia, or Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. These can all be taken at once. So I can see why people are confused about it because there's no consistency in how it's done, really. Okay, I thought we might do some housekeeping about 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. I don't really have any housekeeping per se about 8.1, but I do want to discuss a remark that Mark B made on Panzer's 8.1 turn. He was pointing out that he doesn't see strategic bombing in this game. Strategic bombing in Global War 36 damages facilities, which must be repaired for IPP, but it doesn't directly destroy IPP. So you might strategic bomb, say, the minor factory here, if I'm Britain, and I strategic bomb the minor factory in Paris, and then Panzer J may elect not to repair that factory. But I face an inherent AA, even if there weren't a fighter here. If I strategic bomb, this anti-aircraft artillery doesn't factor in, but this fighter could intercept. But foregoing that fighter, imagine that fighter's not there, and I just come out and fly a strategic bombing mission against Paris. That factory has an inherent AA, which means that the factory would get to roll a 12-sided die, and on a 1, 2, or 3, it would destroy my strategic bomber. I'd still get to do the bombing run, but I would get destroyed. So I have a 25% chance of risking the loss of 12 IPPs, and that basically means that I would get an average of 4 strategic bombing runs with a D6, and I could do potentially 14 points of damage. Which seems like, oh good, I spend 12 and I destroy 14. It's not that great, it's only 16.7% efficient, but he might not end up even repairing that damage, so that's why you probably don't see a lot of strategic bombing. Convoy raiding with submarines is much more cost effective, at least until your opponent develops advanced anti-submarine warfare. Okay, now that was 8.1. Now let's talk about 8.2 housekeeping. I want to talk about the attack up there in Karjala, and it looks like you can barely see that up there. So it's hard to see on the map, but there is a fortification on both sides, both on the Leningrad side and on the Finnish side, there's a fortification. So if you try to attack out of Leningrad into Karjala, you're going to trigger the fortification bonus for the Finns. If Knights Templar had brought his artillery up here and attacked all from Karelia instead, then he wouldn't have faced that fortification bonus. But Knights Templar asked me, well, first I want to say Boston Bruce did a great summary at the beginning of his turn about some of the errors that were in that battle. So if you want to see why we re-rolled that, I refer you to Boston Bruce's video. Knights Templar asked me to generate the results on PBE, and you can see them displayed up on the screen. What it ended up happening is Karjala was taken with 1 infantry and 2 artillery after a pretty intense fight. Okay, now let's talk about 8.3 housekeeping. Boston Bruce purchased a medium armor with Japan, but it's only January 1940, and you can't purchase medium armor until July 1940, unless you're Germany. So he changed that purchase into 1 cavalry in Rihi and 1 infantry in Tokyo. Alright, now we can begin 8.4. And it's going to start off with 2 tech rolls: Advanced Anti-Submarine Warfare and Wartime Economy. Madman Dan pointed out that I've only been successful 1 out of 7 rolls for my Wartime Economy, but I've always been rolling it second. So he suggested this time I roll it first, which is what I'm going to do. Still thinking, sorry for the wait. Okay, so that was an abysmal failure. I rolled a 6 for my Wartime Economy, and I rolled a 1 for my Advanced ASW. So I think that basically all the really top-notch British scientists just love to summer in Italy, and they're kind of, maybe they've fallen in love with the countryside there, and now they're just helping Italy out because I cannot make any progress. I'm going to go back to rolling, at least rolling the first one first, anything other than Wartime Economy, because I'm cursed. Okay, British purchases. Let's rotate this over here a little bit. Maybe zoom in. Okay, so for Britain, I have run out of British anti-aircraft artillery. I used them for some other countries and didn't think I'd need that many, so I'm borrowing a Russian anti-aircraft artillery. So I'm going to upgrade 1 militia to an infantry for 2. I'm going to purchase 2 anti-aircraft artillery for 8. I'm going to purchase 2 Marines for 8. I'm going to purchase an airborne infantry for 3. And I'm going to purchase 2 more infantry. So 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 3 is 21, plus 6 is 27. I had 28 to spend after the convoy raiding on me, so Great Britain saves 1. FEC is going to upgrade a militia to an infantry for 2, purchase an anti-aircraft artillery. I know that's an ANZAC anti-aircraft artillery, I'm just using it as a placekeeper for now. It will be an FEC anti-aircraft. That's for 4, and then militia for 3. So far we're up to 9, and then I'm going to wait, did I do that right? 6, 7, 8. That's up to 8, and then 5 more to start construction of a fortification in Calcutta. That gets me up to 13. I had 14, so I have 1 saved. ANZAC is going to purchase an anti-aircraft artillery for 4, and Lend-Lease, the Free French, a airborne infantry for 3. That's 7. They had 10, so they saved 3. All right, now we go to combat movement. So we're going to start off with the combat movement down. Let's have to back this off. See if we can get this on screen here. Maybe not. Apologize. Will that make it? Ah, got it. Okay, so I'm going to have a tactical bomber and a ANZAC destroyer move from C-Zone 110 to C-Zone 114 to attack that submarine. And then here in France, we're going to have a strategic bomber in London pick up an airborne infantry and fly 1, 2, 3 and drop it off in Alsace-Lorraine. So that is French home country, so that's going back to the Free French. And that'll drop Germany down to 48. Okay. And let's do the attack in C-Zone 110 on that sub. I just get one shot. The tactical bomber hits at a 7. The destroyer hits at a 4. I miss. Okay, I am fairly confident that Panzer J is going to submerge, but if he doesn't want to, that would be delightful. Oh, I am so sorry for not showing that on camera, but I did miss with both. I rolled a 12 with the tactical bomber and a 7 with the destroyer. Thank goodness I missed, because otherwise that would call it into question. Okay. That is the end of my combat phase. So now we're going to go to non-combat movement for the Commonwealth. Let's go over here. I don't think you can see it yet. There we go. Okay, so this British sub here in 99 is just going to go over 1 to 98. All right, and then one Gurkha is going to move from Bengal to Calcutta, and one infantry is going to move from southern India into Calcutta. Okay, I've got a big move going on here. From C-Zone 81, every Commonwealth naval unit in 81 is going to move over here to 79, except this Anzac transport is going to remain there. So just for my opponent's sake and clarity, that is 1 light carrier with a tactical bomber, 2 battleships, 1 battle cruiser, 2 heavy cruisers, 1 coastal defense ship, 1 British light cruiser, 1 Anzac light cruiser, 2 destroyers, and 1 torpedo boat destroyer. Okay. Next is 1 submarine here in 151. We'll move over here to join the Anzac transport in C-Zone 81. The other one will go over here to C-Zone 79. 1 medium bomber moves from Gibraltar to the British Midlands. I'm going to move my Navy. I'm not going to move the camera down. Hopefully my opponent, this will be easy for my opponents. But the naval units that are in C-Zone 110 are going to go join the destroyer and the tactical bomber in C-Zone 114, because I have to hunt again next turn and try to get that guy. That is pathetic. So frustrating, the luck. I mean, missed both techs, and then I can't hit a coastal sub. Okay, let's see. Okay, then I guess we need to rotate this up here to England and have a little discussion about how I'm a broken man. So I talked with Madman Dan at length, and I tried to come up with various ways that I could defend both of these territories. The devilish thing is that he's got 5 air transports and 5 airborne infantry and a slew of fighters, and he's on the cusp of long-range aircraft. He has a 50-50 chance he could get long-range aircraft, and I was trying to be all clever, like I could split my forces here and there and scramble my fighters here and there, and Madman Dan was like, that's, it's not going to bode well for me. So I'm just, it's only turn 8, and I'm going to go into the British Midlands with 4 infantry from northern England and 2 anti-aircraft guns. I am going to reinforce it with 2 fighters. I'm confident I can hold British Midlands, but I can't hold both. And so that's going to lead to my pitch at the end of the turn. Okay, let's see if there's any other. I don't think there's any other movement. I did say that I moved those 2 fighters into British Midlands. All right, now strategic naval movement. I don't have any strategic rail, but remember that Anzac transport that I left in Sea Zone 81? He is going to go all the way down to South African Union. He's going to go from Sea Zone 81 down just off the coast of Madagascar, between Madagascar and South Africa, in Sea Zone 116. Sorry, it's very difficult for me to get the camera in that particular place, but hopefully that's pretty clear that I'm in Sea Zone 116. Placement of British units. So there is a unit in a militia. Can I get that on screen? Let's see. Maybe just barely. No, I can't quite. Okay. Anyway, I'm so sorry. The Belgian Congo, there's a militia there that, was from Belgium after they collapsed. And that guy's going to get upgraded to an infantry so I can move him. And then I'm going to place 1 anti-aircraft artillery in South African Union, 1 anti-aircraft artillery in Northern England, and let's see. Then I've got 2 Marines. 2 Marines, and airborne infantry, and 2 more infantry. All of these units are going into London. I can build 5 in London. So that is all there. All right. Now we've got France's turn, I believe. Oh, no, I've still got to place my FEC. FEC units, I've got 1 militia in Burma. That is going to upgrade to an infantry. And in Calcutta itself, I'm going to build an AA gun. Bring this over so you can see what's going on in Calcutta. I upgraded this guy from a militia to an infantry, and then I am putting a chip under that AA. So I've got 2 AA guns in Calcutta now. And then I've got 1 militia. So I will build the 1 militia in Calcutta as well. And then I'm putting an under construction marker for that fortification. That's in Calcutta. All right. And then I've got my Anzac purchases. I purchased 1 anti-aircraft artillery, and then I'm lend-leasing 1 unit. I think I will start here, down here in Western Australia, come up through here into Northern Algeria. Okay, that is the end of placement. So Great Britain collects 27 IPPs plus 3 for the Suez. That gets me up to 30, and I have 1 saved. So Great Britain will end its turn with 31 in the bank. And we'll see how we fare with this coastal sub down there in 114 is a phenomenal captain. He has done supreme amounts of damage, and then he manages to avoid death somehow. It's Das Boot, he's very skilled. FEC collects 14 plus 2 for aid in Eastern Egypt, and had 1 saved, so they end the turn with 17 banked. And then Anzac has 7, and they saved 3, so they end the turn with 10. Now we will start Free France's turn. Okay, Free France purchases. I have 5, and I'm going to spend it all. I'm going to upgrade 1 militia to an infantry for 2, and then purchase some infantry for 3. That's 5. Combat movement. 1 infantry will move from Sudan. Let's see if we get these African things are the most difficult thing for this camera. I'm so sorry. Will this somehow get back in there? Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so this guy in Sudan will go into Chad and make that Free French. And then the cavalry in Belgian Congo will go into Cameroon and make that Free French. That makes the Free French go up 1. And then this mountain infantry in northern Algeria is going to go into Morocco. And that's another 1 up for the Free French. So the Free French are now up to 10. And the Germans are down to 46. All right. Oh, this is just the worst turn. I'm backing out. I didn't roll any tech, and I just looked at that coastal sub and unbelievable. Okay. Non-combat movement. Can we have this? Oh, I know. I need to back the camera out. It's so much easier. Okay. 1 infantry will move from Eritrea to Nubia. 2 fighters will fly from Malta to eastern Egypt. 1 fighter will fly from Malta to northern Algeria. 1 air transport picks up 1 infantry from northern Algeria and drops it off in eastern Egypt. Let's see. 1 submarine moves from Sea Zone 79 up to Sea Zone 25. Is that all in camera? I'm sure it is. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 into this sea zone here. Okay, strategic rail movement, none. Strategic naval movement, none. Placement of French units, 1 militia in Abyssinia upgrades to an infantry. So now in Abyssinia I have 1 infantry and 1 militia. I learned from Boston Bruce that that's the way each territory should be garrisoned. 1 militia and 1 infantry. I'm learning a lot from my opponents. And then 1 infantry is going to be placed in northern Algeria. So northern Algeria has a mountain, No, okay, I was worried about his Vichy. I do not believe Vichy get the long-range aircraft. I don't think they do, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, then Free France collects 10 IPP. Okay, before I end, I want to discuss the big picture. There are 2 narratives that are being pitched to Knights Templar, the guy playing USSR. The Axis are telling him how brilliant Madman Dan is, that he's a strategic genius and the winner of the 2021 Spring Offensive. That is totally true. Madman Dan has been very clever, and he's had ideas like taking Formosa and his Alsace-Lorraine. That attack was totally Madman Dan's. He's cagey, and I respect him mightily. But look at the peacetime income increases for USA. America's only at 23. Look at the British technology. Germany and Japan are building him up as this colossus that must be feared and cannot be stopped. Their story is, only if the Soviets join with us do we have any hope. But on the other hand, the Allies are telling Knights Templar that the Axis are off to a phenomenal start. Japan has taken the Money Islands and every Chinese IPP territory save 3. And he only increased USA's peacetime income by 10 for doing all of that. France, Poland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Yugoslavia were all taken in a single turn by an explosive Germany, now on the cusp of Operation Sea Lion. Japan is collecting 41, and Germany is collecting 56 per turn. If you add in Italy's 9, that's 106 per turn compared to USSR's 43, which is 2.5 times more. Turn after turn, they're going to be collecting 2.5 times more than the Soviets. Panzer J and Boston Bruce are playing superbly and are economically dominating.
Germany is far outproducing Great Britain, and Panzer J knows it's only a matter of time. If Germany were on the cusp of taking Moscow, Stalin would be begging for Lend-Lease and for the Allies to open a second front to prevent an Axis steamroll. And that's what Churchill is doing now. Time is running out. The Soviets will be at full wartime income in 2 or 3 turns. Knights Templar can prolong the German takeover of England by sending me some Lend-Lease. I'm not above begging. And with that, this is Global War 36 Enthusiast, now turning it over to Panzer J and 8.6 Italy.